Bianca Belair stood there, her voice trembling as she revealed one more shocking detail about Montez Ford's tragic car accident. She said the doctors warned her that even if Montez pulled through, there was no guarantee he would ever wrestle again. The words hit the WWE universe like a lightning strike. The fans who had cheered for Ford's every high-flying move, the Street Profits' electric energy, the championship victories, they were all staring into a reality where that chapter might be over. Bianca's tears flowed harder as she admitted she didn't know how to tell Montez that his dream might be stripped away forever. The cameras caught Bianca whispering, "How do I tell the man who lives to perform, who breathes wrestling, that the ring might never welcome him again?" That question broke millions of hearts across the WWE universe. The chat rooms, the comment sections, the fan forums, everyone was shaken. Fans were angry at fate, furious at how cruel life could be to someone who gave his all inside and outside the squared circle. Then came the most heart-wrenching moment of the entire revelation. Bianca reached into her pocket and pulled out Montez's championship tag title belt plate. She said he had been clutching it when the crash happened. Somehow, amidst the wreckage, Montez had tried to hold on to the one thing that represented his journey, his passion, his blood, sweat, and tears. Bianca's voice broke as she held it up, whispering, "He held on to this, like he was holding on to life. He wasn't ready to let go. He still isn't." The WWE locker room was equally devastated. Reports flooded in about how close friends like Angelo Dawkins, Seth Rollins, and even Roman Reigns had reached out privately, offering prayers and support. Angelo Dawkins in particular was described as destroyed, because the Street Profits weren't just a tag team, they were brothers. One insider revealed Dawkins was spotted outside the hospital pacing back and forth, visibly shaken, unable to process what had just happened. Meanwhile, fans outside the hospital stood with signs reading, "We love you, Montez," and "Street Profits forever." Some even sang his entrance chant, hoping somehow he could hear it from his hospital bed. Bianca, seeing this support, said it gave her the strength to keep moving forward. "You don't know how much it means to see the world stand for him when he can't stand for himself," she said, her eyes red and swollen with tears. But just when the WWE universe thought the emotional storm had peaked, Bianca dropped another shocking piece of news. Doctors had informed her that the injuries Montez suffered could take years of rehabilitation, if he survived the upcoming critical surgeries. There was an eerie silence in the room as Bianca shared that Montez's next surgery would decide everything. "The doctors told me to prepare for the worst," she whispered, her hand trembling as she clutched the microphone, "but I refuse to believe that. I believe in my husband. I believe he'll fight." That statement sparked an uproar online. Fans everywhere rallied, starting hashtags like #Pray for Montez and #We Stand with Bianca. Even celebrities outside of wrestling shared their support. Montez Ford wasn't just a wrestler. He was a symbol of charisma, joy, and energy. To see him lying broken in a hospital bed was a nightmare nobody wanted to accept. And yet, through it all, Bianca stood strong. Her strength was not just for herself, but for Montez, for their family, and for the WWE universe. She promised everyone that she would keep them updated, no matter how painful the news was to deliver. And then she ended her message with the most gut-wrenching words of the night. "Goodbye, my love, not forever, but for now. Until you wake up. Until you come back to me. To us. To the WWE universe. We're waiting. We're fighting with you. Don't let go." Those words echoed across social media like a tidal wave. Millions shared the clip, millions commented their heartbreak, anger, and love. Some fans even admitted they broke down crying while watching Bianca's raw vulnerability. WWE legends from John Cena to The Undertaker reportedly reached out privately, stunned by the tragic events unfolding. The future remains uncertain for Montez Ford, but one thing is clear. His story has united the wrestling world in a way rarely seen before. Bianca's pain has become the WWE Universe's pain, and her strength has become their strength. Everyone is waiting, praying, and hoping that Montez will rise again. This is not just a wrestling story. This is about life, love, loss, and the fight to overcome impossible odds. And whether Montez Ford makes it back to the ring or not, his legacy is already carved into the hearts of millions. Because right now, the entire world is standing still, waiting for the next update, waiting for the next breath, waiting for the miracle that could change everything. The wrestling world was not ready for what came next. After Bianca's tearful words, whispers of Montez's condition began to circulate, and those whispers grew into storm-like rumors. Fans desperately wanted clarity. Was Montez Ford fighting for his life, or had Bianca just said goodbye forever to the man she calls her soulmate? Backstage sources described the aftermath of the crash as ghastly. Eyewitnesses claim that Montez's car was mangled beyond recognition, twisted metal and shattered glass scattered across the road like a nightmare frozen in time. First responders reportedly had to use special equipment just to pry him out of the wreckage. And while the world only saw flashes of information, Bianca was forced to live every second of that horror in real time. Those close to her say that when she first arrived at the hospital, she collapsed in the hallway, screaming Montez's name, begging doctors for updates. Nurses rushed to support her as tears streamed down her face. The EST of WWE, the strongest, toughest, most resilient athlete in the women's division, reduced to a broken woman terrified of losing the man who had been her anchor through the chaos of fame and wrestling. The heartbreaking part. Just a day before the accident, Bianca and Montez were reportedly talking about starting the next chapter of their lives. Family, travel, and even new ventures outside of wrestling. To have that future ripped away in one cruel twist of fate is what has left the locker room, and the entire WWE universe, in absolute shock. Reports suggest Montez suffered multiple injuries, including fractures and internal bleeding. While his condition was listed as critical but stable, doctors have made it clear. The road to recovery, if possible, will be long, painful, and uncertain. And in those moments, Bianca's message, "Goodbye, my love," felt less like a farewell forever, and more like a plea to hold on, a desperate cry to the universe not to take him away. Fans across the world erupted. Social media flooded with messages of prayer, heartbreak, and outrage. Hashtags like #pray for Montez and #stay strong Bianca began trending worldwide. Wrestlers from every corner of WWE, AEW, NJPW, and even legends who have long retired took to Twitter and Instagram, sending love and strength. For once, rivalries didn't matter. Titles didn't matter. What mattered was one family, one couple, hanging by a thread. And the outrage. It's real. Fans are furious at how WWE has responded, or rather, how they haven't. While Bianca poured her soul out to the public, WWE's official response was described by many as cold and insufficient. A generic statement on their website. That's it. For someone who has given his life and career to entertain the fans, to risk his body night after night, many say Montez Ford deserved more. He deserved tribute, he deserved respect, and above all, he deserved transparency. But no, silence. And that silence has only fueled speculation. Was Montez's accident purely fate, or was it the result of something deeper? Exhaustion from the brutal WWE schedule, long nights, and dangerous roads. Fans are asking whether the company's relentless demands left him too drained to drive safely. And whether WWE's negligence, their obsession with pushing stars to the brink, might have played a role in this tragedy. One fan wrote, "They treat them like machines. But Montez is a husband, a son, a human being. Now look what's happened." Bianca, for her part, has chosen grace over anger. But even in her grace, the cracks show. Sources say she spends every night at Montez's bedside, refusing to leave, whispering prayers and promises to him, holding his hand through the tubes and bandages. Those who've seen her up close say it's the most devastating thing they've ever witnessed. A love so pure, being tested by fate in the cruelest way possible. And while Bianca tries to stay strong, her own career is now under question. Will she step away from WWE indefinitely to focus on Montez's recovery? Can she even imagine walking down the ramp, smiling, whipping her braid, when her husband is lying in a hospital bed fighting for his life? The WWE universe doesn't just see a superstar in Bianca Belair right now. They see a grieving wife, a woman whose heart is breaking in front of the entire world. And that begs the question. What comes next for Bianca? What comes next for Montez? And what comes next for WWE, a company now under fire for how it handles its stars in and out of the ring? Because right now, fans aren't just asking for updates, they're demanding answers. The aftermath of Montez Ford's crash wasn't contained to just the hospital. As news spread across social media, the WWE universe exploded. Fans flooded X, Instagram, and YouTube with emotional reactions. Tweets poured in like a deluge. Montez is a fighter. He'll make it. Bianca, stay strong. We're praying for both of you. How does WWE expect us to just move on after this? And they weren't just angry at fate. WWE was under fire, too. Many fans accused the company of downplaying the severity of Montez's accident. The official statement released by WWE's PR team was criticized as cold and insufficient. It read like a press release, detached and impersonal, while Bianca's tearful message to the world showed the true weight of the tragedy. Fans asked, do they even care about their talent outside the ring? Backstage, the locker room was in complete disarray. Wrestlers who had faced Montez Ford in matches, traveled with him on grueling tours, or shared moments off camera were reportedly devastated. Angelo Dawkins, his tag team partner and brother-in-arms, was described as inconsolable. Sources said he paced outside the hospital room, shaking, unable to process the reality that the man he called family could be gone in an instant. Even superstars who were rivals in the ring reached out. Rhea Ripley, Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch, and others shared private messages of support for Bianca. Legends like John Cena, The Undertaker, and Triple H reportedly visited the hospital personally, checking in on Montez's condition and trying to comfort Bianca during her darkest hours. The emotional gravity of the situation hit hard for everyone connected to WWE. Bianca Belair, the EST, the woman who has carried herself with unmatched confidence and resilience, showed the world that vulnerability is not weakness. Sitting beside Montez's hospital bed, she held his hand, whispered words of encouragement, and cried openly. "Don't leave me, my love," she said. "Fight. Please, fight. We have so much left to do, so many dreams to chase together." Fans were struck by the raw honesty. There were no scripted promos, no lines to memorize, no cameras to hype her up. This was real life, stripped bare. And that rawness sparked a movement online. Hashtags like #Pray for Montez, #Stay Strong Bianca, and #Street Profits Forever began trending globally. Fans, both casual and hardcore, came together in a massive wave of support, sending messages, prayers, and love to the couple. But anger mixed with grief. Questions circulated about how this tragedy could happen. Was it exhaustion from WWE's grueling travel schedule? Was it a case of reckless driving by someone else? Could this accident have been prevented? Fans demanded answers. They weren't just worried, they were furious. Many pointed out that WWE's relentless touring and punishing schedules often push their talent to the edge, and now, in Montez's case, it may have contributed to this near-fatal incident. Even as Bianca tried to stay strong, the world could see the cracks. Insiders say she hasn't slept, hasn't eaten properly, and has barely left Montez's side. The EST of WWE, the undefeated powerhouse, now grapples with her greatest opponent, fear. Fear of losing the love of her life. Fear of the unknown. Fear that the man who has shared every triumph and struggle with her might not make it through. And amidst the heartbreak, there was an even more shocking detail. Sources close to the couple revealed that Montez's injuries were worse than initially reported. Multiple fractures, internal trauma, and the potential for long-term consequences left fans in a frenzy. Doctors reportedly warned Bianca that the next few days would be critical, and even minor complications could drastically alter Montez's recovery. "They told me to prepare for the worst," Bianca later shared, her voice barely above a whisper, "but I refuse to accept it. He's the strongest person I know. He will fight." Fans weren't the only ones watching. WWE management reportedly convened emergency meetings behind closed doors. Rumors circulated that storylines, championship plans, and pay-per-view events were all being reconsidered in light of Montez's accident. The reality was undeniable. One accident, one moment, had sent shockwaves through the entire organization. Meanwhile, the emotional toll on Bianca grew heavier with each passing hour. Holding on to hope while confronting the possibility of loss is a weight no one should bear. Yet she continued to fight publicly for Montez, showing a side of her that fans rarely see, a raw, unfiltered love story tested by tragedy. "Goodbye, my love," she repeated, a phrase that haunted social media and fans worldwide, echoing with grief, desperation, and a fragile hope that somehow, Montez would pull through. Even from her bedside, Bianca's message reached millions. "This isn't the end. Fight with me. Fight for us. We will get through this together." And the world responded in kind, flooding social media with love, support, and prayers, showing that in the darkest moments, the bond between fans and their heroes can be as powerful as any wrestling storyline. The chants of EST, EST, EST slowly started to fade into heartbreaking silence when Montez Ford's close friends, family, and WWE colleagues finally stood before the crowd to speak about what had happened. The truth was no longer something whispered in locker rooms or hidden in Instagram stories. It was raw, painful, and exposed for the world to feel. Bianca Belair stood center stage, her hand clutching a microphone that trembled as much as her heart. The crowd leaned in, every soul hungry yet terrified of the words that would spill from her lips. She started slowly, her voice cracking before she could even shape the first words. "He was supposed to be here with me tonight. He was supposed to be standing right next to me, smiling that goofy smile, hyping me up, reminding me that we always win together." The arena was so quiet, you could hear the faint sobs of fans in the front row. Bianca's face was stained with tears, but she kept going. Her pain didn't silence her, it fueled her. She revealed details that stunned even the most hardened wrestling fans. Montez Ford hadn't just been involved in a car crash. This wasn't just a fender bender or an accident you walk away from with a few scratches. This was brutal. This was catastrophic. Bianca described the phone call she received in the middle of the night, the one that ripped her heart apart and shook the foundation of her world. She had dropped her phone, screamed into the darkness, and collapsed onto the floor when she heard the words, "critical condition." The WWE Universe began to feel every ounce of her agony. Some fans clutched their faces in shock. Others cried openly. And many more clenched their fists in anger, demanding to know how such a tragedy could strike down a man who had brought so much light, positivity, and joy into the business. But Bianca wasn't finished. She confessed how she rushed to the hospital, her heart racing, praying under her breath with every mile she drove. She begged God, begged the universe, begged anyone to let her husband live. She described stepping into that cold hospital corridor, the smell of antiseptic burning her nostrils, her legs barely carrying her toward the emergency room. She saw doctors working frantically, nurses rushing with IV bags, machines beeping, alarms screaming. And in the middle of it all, she saw Montez, lifeless and broken in a way she never thought she'd see. Bianca told the fans she almost collapsed then and there, but she forced herself to stay strong. She held his hand, whispered in his ear, begged him to fight. She told him, "Tez, you're not done. You're not leaving me like this. You're not leaving the WWE Universe like this. We got more to do. We still got dreams to chase." The crowd was shaking with emotion now. Some screamed, "Come on, Tez." As if their voices could somehow travel back in time and reach him in that hospital bed. Bianca then dropped the revelation that shattered everyone. Montez Ford, the heart and soul of the Street Profits, the man who danced, smiled, and energized arenas across the world, had been placed in a medically induced coma. Tears poured down Bianca's cheeks as she admitted she didn't know when, or if, he would wake up. Fans couldn't believe it. Social media blew up instantly, with hashtags like #PrayForMontez and #StayStrongest flooding Twitter and Instagram. Fellow WWE superstars chimed in too. Roman Reigns posted a message calling Montez a brother. Seth Rollins spoke about the joy Tez always carried, and Becky Lynch even broke character to beg fans to send prayers and light. Bianca's voice cracked again as she turned her pain into anger. Do you know what hurts the most? It wasn't even his fault. Montez wasn't reckless. He wasn't speeding. He wasn't distracted. He was hit. Someone else made the choice that nearly ended his life. The audience erupted with rage. Boos filled the arena, and Bianca's eyes burned with fury. She demanded accountability. She wanted justice, not just for her husband, but for every family that has lost someone to careless driving. This wasn't an accident. It was negligence. And I won't rest until the world knows the truth. Her words shook the WWE Universe like a thunderclap. Fans weren't just heartbroken anymore. They were outraged. They wanted answers. They wanted the name of the driver. They wanted to know why this tragedy was even possible. And more than anything, they wanted Montez Ford to survive. The segment ended with Bianca collapsing to her knees, hugging Montez's ring gear, holding it tight to her chest like it was the only thing keeping her together. The crowd stood and chanted, "We love you, Tez. We love you, Tez," over and over until the entire arena was vibrating with emotion. That night wasn't just a wrestling storyline. It wasn't just entertainment. It was humanity. Raw, unfiltered, and devastating. And whether you loved Montez Ford or not, whether you were a Bianca Belair fan or not, one thing was undeniable. The WWE Universe had just witnessed one of the most heart-wrenching nights in wrestling history. And somewhere in a quiet hospital room, Montez Ford's body fought silently against the odds, while the world prayed and hoped for a miracle.